Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of Puck Drop. I'm Harry, your host, and I'm joined here with my co-host Brody Martin.
Hello.
For the first segment of our podcast, we're going to be talking about last weekend. So, how are you feeling about that, Brody?
It was an absolute brilliant result from the Raiders, I tell you. That the fight towards the end, literally towards the end, because we had sudden death penalties, was immense. It was brilliant, and I liked it. And Adam Lasham deserves a big pat on the back, and so does Ethan James as well, because them two stood out and they rose to the challenge when needed. You know.
And I think Ethan played one hell of a game in between the pipes, and those penalty shots from Leishram were unbelievable. And I think another one who really stood out to me over the weekend was Jake Sylvester. He put up one hell of a performance. We had a 5-4 shootout win, which was absolutely incredible at home, and a 3-2 hard-fought regulation win.
Yeah, yeah. That game on the Sunday was very nerve wracking, to say the least. Could barely watch the game, and Sunday was a great performance from the boys. They put up a lot of hard work, a lot of fight about them as well, and yeah, that really stood out over the weekend. So massive congrats to the boys, and we are now still looking for our playoff spot.
I mean, it's really anyone's game now because it all comes down to this weekend. Because if we win both of our games and Telford lose both of their games, I don't think they qualify. So it really is anyone's game. Unless Milton Keynes lose on Saturday, then they're out.
If we beat Milton Keynes today, then we they're out, and that would actually be a big relief if they were out, because they're one of the strong forces in the league. Them and Leeds Knights, them two are the big strong forces in the league, and if we were able to beat them, it'd be a good accomplishment for the boys.
And we'd quickly like to mention that the Golden Blue Boys, who are currently playing in the under-18s GB competition, are absolutely on fire.
Yeah, yeah. So good job to Brendan Caps and Joe Tomlin, because you have been playing an absolute blinder in the last couple of games. So keep up the good work, boys.
So now we've got a very exciting interview for you guys. We interviewed Zach Sullivan from the Manchester Storm, who played a brief stint for the Raiders during it was the 2020-2021 season. So without further ado, we'll cut to that. Welcome to today's interview. Today we've got Zach Sullivan from the Manchester Storm. He briefly played for the Raiders in the 2021 season. Hi Zach, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Um, so let's get straight into the questions. So you're the first openly out hockey player. So what was it like coming out to the hockey community?
I'm going to correct you slightly. I'm the first openly professional bisexual hockey player in the men's side of the game. So yeah, it was. I think I've said it plenty of times. It was kind of mixed emotions. I was terrified. I was excited. There was kind of a bit of trepidation. Like I didn't really know what was going to happen, and then yeah, just a response from the vast majority was overwhelmingly positive, and the team, I was obviously playing for Manchester at the time, they supported everything I was doing, and I still remember Finner saying to this day, Ryan Finnerty, my coach at the time, the current owner of the Storm, he said, if it ever gets too much, just let me know. And I think that was just kind of I think he knew more than me how many interviews I was going to do, and he just kind of gave me that safety blanket of, if this ever gets too much, it's fine. Just let me know. I'll let everyone down instead of you. So yeah, I think it was looking back, it was something I'm proud of done, and something I think I needed to do at the time where I was in my own mental health and my game at the time as well. How I was playing, I was suffering because of everything I was going through. So yeah, I'm glad I did it. Not sure I would have changed much if I did it again, but yeah, it was positive, and I'm happy it was.
I think it's definitely good to have the representation of the LGBTQ community in ice hockey. So I feel like some people that I've spoken to see it as like a very toxically masculine and masculine sport, and I think it's good to see people that aren't toxically masculine and openly out to be professional in the sport, because it's definitely good for those people that are maybe not out to the public yet, and it must be nice for them to know there's people that are out and they're openly accepted in the hockey community, because hockey's for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope I've helped other people. I can't speak for them, obviously. Like, I know that, like, for myself, if there was someone who was bisexual playing ice hockey professionally, I think it would have made my decision a lot easier, and I probably would have done it a lot sooner too. So, hopefully it kind of gives future generations kind of the hope that they'll be accepted. And I do think, like you said, hockey has a um, kind of stereotype that is toxic masculinity and homophobic and sexist and misogynistic. But I think when it gets down to, who those 20, 21 guys that you're in a room with all season, I think it's a family, and I think you do anything to protect each other. And at the end of the day, I think it's our differences that make everyone so interesting. So it would be pretty boring if you were on a team with 20 people who all spoke the same and all said the same thing every day. So um, yeah, it's hopefully the future generations can kind of take confidence that I've managed somehow to play in the elite league now for 10 years.
So what is it like playing in the elite league?
Just trying to think what I can say and what I can't. No, it's fun. I mean, it's obviously, if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't be doing it. We're not doing it because we're getting paid like footballers. We're doing it because we love the sport, and it is good fun. I mean, the people I've met through over the years, and places I've been fortunate enough to go and play in and go and see, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if it wasn't for ice hockey. And um, I've played with an ex-Stanley Cup winner. I played with Joe Morrow this season, who's got 150 NHL games, and um, trying to think who else. Chris Holt, who was drafted to the New York Rangers first round. So, yeah, there's plenty of guys that you never. There's obviously a big gap between the elite league and the NHL, but you still get to play with those players, and it's still pretty cool. These guys have lived out your dreams, especially Rick Jackman, who's Stanley Cup winner. He's lived out the ultimate dream. He's won the Stanley Cup. He knows what that feels like, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think honestly, the thing that would surprise people the most is how much downtime we have. We practice in the morning. We're usually done with practice and gym by about 1 p.m. For adults, we're trusted to behave properly, but do what we need to do to make sure we're in shape and mentally and physically ready for the weekend. So I think that's something that most people would be surprised about. We have about most hockey players are nocturnal, so our sleep patterns aren't the greatest. So yeah, I mean 12 hours of downtime that I think some people will sometimes struggle to fill the responsible way.
I briefly mentioned at the start that you played for the Raiders during the 2020-2021 season. What was it like, and how different was it? One, because of the pandemic, and
Yeah, so I actually played for Milton Keynes Lightning that year as well. They did the mini streaming series in, I think, October of 2020. And I played the second weekend of games, and I was terrible. I was absolutely shocking. I've been kind of skating in Romford for the few months that we were allowed to, and went and played, and I was so behind the pace. So I was struggling to just keep up, let alone actually play hockey. So I think when the opportunity came to kind of play for Raiders, it was, I think I said in an interview around the time, like it's an opportunity to show that actually I'm not as bad as I was when I played for Milton Keynes. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, there were a couple of guys there that I grew up with playing with Invicta and Aaron Connolly and Dan Scott. They've got full-time jobs, they've got families, and kind of doing the real life thing, whereas I've been off kind of doing my own things. So I never really thought I'd have the opportunity to play with them again. And it was honestly everything, like it was everything I expected to be. It was so much fun. It was so much, I got so much enjoyment getting to play with those guys again. And, we didn't do very well. I think we finished bottom of the table. But yeah, it was the hockey, and the hockey was kind of secondary for everyone. I think it was just the fact that we were able to go and actually play when the majority of the country had to sit at home and do absolutely nothing. So I think we kind of approached it in the right way. We enjoyed ourselves, we had fun, we worked hard, and obviously we didn't finish where we wanted to, but yeah, I think we kind of, I think we were the only team that only had, I was the only elite league player that stepped down for them, and it's a good standard of hockey. It's there are some very, very talented hockey players in that league, and yeah, I think quite a number of them could step up when and as they're ready. And I think it just comes down to personal choice, whether they want to, give up a large portion of their lives to go and play in the elite league, or if they want to stay in the NIHL and earn a good wage playing hockey, and also have the opportunity to have a full-time job and potentially start a family and kind of start their lives. So I completely understand both sides of the coin, and I'll never criticize anyone for not stepping up. I'll never criticize for someone for stepping up too early. I think it's comes down to personal choice.
And what's it like with the amount of imports in the Elite League?
Yeah, it seems to be ever rising. Yeah, I mean, I'm 29. I think I just turned 29 when the whole ownership change with Manchester was finalised. So that was kind of when they were sending out contracts, and I remember kind of sitting down and thinking, I've played 9 years in the Elite League. I don't really have anything to prove. I've won a gold medal with GB. I've come out as a professional ice hockey player. So, and then my pride kind of got the better of me, and I didn't want to step down the year that we upped the import count. So, I think looking back over this season, I'm glad that I made that decision. It's again, I can understand both sides of the coin. It's an industry, it's business at the end of the day, and having heard all the arguments that each of the owners put forward in all of their AGMs, they've decided that the way forward is to have 15 imports. So, I mean, the quality of hockey this year was very good. I'm not sure if it was substantially better than last season or the season before. I think Belfast ran away with everything last season, and Sheffield ran away with everything this season. Obviously, don't know the result of the playoffs yet, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I can see the argument for having more Brits or less imports and having more imports, but for example, at Manchester Storm, we had a 16-year-old Connor Lee, and being able to learn off 15 different imports that have the experience of playing in North America, where it is more cutthroat. Decisions are made for a multitude of reasons, and it might be nothing to do with your hockey abilities. So I think for guys like Connor, it's great for him to kind of hear those experiences and kind of learn what he needs to do to make it at that top level. And guys like me that are getting on in our careers and considering retirement every season, I think it's a different kettle of fish. But yeah, I can see the pros and cons. Let's put it that way.
So, how did you get into hockey?
I was so my mum owns a nursery, children's nursery, and when when I was around the right age to be going at her university, at her nursery, sorry. ADHD in children was a big thing. And a lot of children were getting diagnosed with ADHD. And my mum knew the hassle and the paperwork and the extra time and effort that it required for having a child with ADHD at a nursery. So my mum categorically refused to get me diagnosed with ADHD and instead decided to make me play every single sport you could possibly imagine. I think at about the age of 7, I was playing football, cricket, rugby, field hockey, roller hockey, tennis. So it's, yeah, pretty much everything you can think of. And our roller hockey team we merged with another team, and their coach came up to me after a game and said, "Oh, have you ever thought about playing ice hockey?" And it was one of those moments where if you've ever been in a conversation and you think the other person is talking complete and utter nonsense, genuinely thought he'd made this sport up on the spot. Like, what's ice hockey? Ice hockey is not a thing. But apparently my mum said that the look of joy in my eyes when I was asked meant she couldn't possibly ever say no. So we went for trials in Guildford and Invicta. And Guildford, me, my little sister, and my older brother all went for trials at the same time, and Invicta agreed to take all 3 of us, which is obviously a big thing. You know, my dad worked 9 to 5, 9 till 6, 9 till 7 some nights, so my mum was the only one that could take us to training in the evening, and it all needed to be in one place for all 3 of us, and Invicta gladly took all 3 of us, and yeah, it just kind of went from there, really.
So if you could play, I know you played in no, not Australia, New Zealand. But if you play in any other country, what would it be?
That was the question I thought about the most, to be honest. I'm not too sure. You know, I've heard guys' experiences of playing in Italy, and that sounded pretty cool. And obviously, I played with quite a few Scandinavians over the years, from Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and a couple of Finns this year. So, I think Sweden would be pretty cool. You know, hockey is probably as big, if not bigger than football over there. So, it'd be pretty cool to, you know, we're obviously I've got to be better than I am, but to have played in the Swedish League would have been pretty cool. Just I was lucky enough to play in the CHL against Vakwa Lakers, and their arena and facilities were insane. You know, obviously in Manchester, you got the Etihad ground for the Manchester City football team, and it was kind of on a par with that. And it's just, yeah, I think Swedish League would have been pretty cool.
There's definitely some it's a really good standard of hockey out in all of the Scandinavian countries. I mean, we've experienced that firsthand with Jesper. He's been really good this season for the Raiders. So talking about global hockey, who is your favorite NHL team? And if you say the Leafs, I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about you from this point on.
No, don't worry, I don't support the Leafs. I am a Calgary Flames fan. I'm a Calgary Flames fan because when I was growing up, Jerome McGinley was playing for them. And they went on a very deep. They made the Stanley Cup Finals. They ended up losing 4-2, I think, in the Stanley Cup Final to Tampa Bay. I was a forward when I started playing ice hockey, so that might make the link between me and Jerome McGinley a bit more obvious. But yeah, that line that Jerome McGinley, Craig Conroy, and can never remember the third guy, but that team, and Robin Regeer was there, Mika Kiprasov, Dion Phaneuf played there for a while. So they had a very, very strong team. And if you look back, it was probably Jerome McGinley's best and only chance to win a Stanley Cup. And they kind of choked when it got to game 6 and 7. But yeah, I support Calgary. I went to Okanagan. It's called OHA in Penticton. And so I went out for 2 weeks. It was kind of like a hockey school, but it was a tournament as well. So you were split into teams and you trained and did everything as a team. And you played a tournament at the same time. And my parents flew over to bring me home, flew out there by myself. My parents flew over to bring me home. They hired a convertible Mustang, which was interesting, took my hockey kit and my hockey sticks in the car. Drove through the Rockies and up to the Saddle Dome and flew home from Calgary. So from then on, it was kind of Calgary all the way. And then my brother, being my brother and doing what brothers do, decided to support Vancouver. So
I mean, I'd rather be a Flame supporter than a Vancouver.
yeah, I mean, you do have the Sedin twins for the Vancouver Canucks, and we were lucky enough to go to the Olympic final in Turin. I think it was 2004 or 2002, and it was Sweden, Finland. So it was kind of the Sedins versus Kiprusoft, and I don't think Kiprusoft went in the end. I think he was injured, but for those reasons, my brother supported Sweden, I support Finland, and he came out on top on that one. So won't talk about it too much.
Getting back on track. So, how do you feel your season's gone?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's obviously heavy disappointment around Manchester and the Manchester Storm. I think our fans and kind of us ourselves, we expected to do a lot better in playoffs than we did. I don't think anyone expected us to lose 9-1 on aggregate. But I think if you take a step away and look back, I don't think anyone expected us to finish fourth, especially not with 5 games left. We were secure in fourth with 5 or 6 games left of the season. So, the majority of fan polls before the season had us in 10th, and 10th by some way. So, yeah, I think we surpassed expectations. We obviously improved on last season. I think we finished 6th. So yeah, I think looking back in the long term, I think it's been a successful year for the Storm. I mean, if you look at things off the ice, the fan base is definitely growing. The fan base, there's a lot of younger fans coming watching every week, and don't know whether that's because they think they're going to get some chocolate bars off of us, but no, the second half of the season it was sold out pretty much every match, and obviously didn't get off to the best of starts. I think we were in 10th at one point for 1 or 2 games. We did start the season in first. We played the only Elite League match of the weekend and won, so we were in top spot for a week. Just want to throw that out there for everyone. So yeah, I think it was successful. I think obviously playoffs was bitterly disappointing. I think as players we knew it was going to be tough, but I mean we were just second best in every single department, and Guildford just absolutely dominated us for 120 minutes over the weekend. And sometimes that happens. You hear coaches come out after games and say sometimes we have bad games, but I don't think you expected to be in playoffs in the 2 biggest games of the season. So that was obviously extremely disappointing for us as a group. And yeah, for me, it kind of adds into the equation. Some are kind of is their unfinished business. Are there areas to improve on personally and as a team and individually? So it was a good year. It was a fun year. It was definitely a fun year. We had a great group of guys, and hopefully next year we can not do so poorly in playoffs.
Yeah, I just want to add something quickly. By the way, thank you for coming on to the podcast. I don't think I've said that got in already. But if you were to have got to the playoffs, would it have maybe boosted your confidence even higher as an ice hockey player if you were to get to the playoff finals?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I mean, I've had personal and team success in the old EPL, the NIHL National, used to be called EPL. Won the playoffs twice, won the cup once, and it does give you confidence. It gives you confidence individually and also as a team. You know, the year we didn't win anything, I think was probably on paper our best team, and we we uh, we crashed down the semi-finals of the cup and the playoffs, and we went on a terrible run from about January to March where we couldn't win a game to save our lives. So, yeah, I mean, my 10th year in the elite league, and I still haven't made it to Nottingham weekend as a player. So, it brings some doubts, but I think week to week you have doubts and you have positives, you have ups and downs, and it's just about how you kind of handle those as a player. And you know, personally, I think I had a much better season this year than some of my previous years, and um, you know, I'm not going to put up 50, 60 points. That's not the kind of player I am. But then that's also not the kind of player I'm expected to be. You know, the management and staff, they know what kind of player I am and they know what to ask of me. So, yeah, I think it would have been a confidence boost. I think we know we were heading into a very strong Sheffield team if we did make it to playoffs, but into the final four, sorry. So, but we had confidence. You know, last time we played them in Sheffield, we beat them. I think we were one of only two teams to score 5 goals in a single game against them this year, and we ran them to overtime last time we played them in Manchester. So, and I think that just shows more how absolutely stacked they were. I mean, they were an absolute powerhouse this season. I think they lost something like 6 games a year. So yeah, I mean, to only have 2 games where you can see 5 goals is pretty impressive. So yeah, I think it would have given us a lot of confidence, and I think we would have certainly given them a good game. But then I would have said that going into Guildford, and look what we did. So there you go.
And just quickly, we've got time for one fan question here. So, what is your favourite ice hockey memory?
Might run out of time with me thinking. I'd probably say the game after. I mean, the majority of people are probably expecting me to say that the gold medal with GB, that was one of my best memories. Going to Hungary and winning a gold medal in a team that in a division that everyone expected us to get absolutely hammered every game, and you know, and I will say I only had 7 shifts, but that is the best gold medal to shift ratio. But yeah, I think it's got to be the game. You know, I came out. I tweeted on the Sunday that I was bisexual, and then that game and how my teammates treated me and the fan response. I think that was the first time we sold out Manchester the Storm Shuttle all season, and the noise when we stepped onto the ice, and yeah, just everything about that game and just how hard everyone was working to make sure we won it. I think that'll probably go down as one of the best memories of my life, not just ice hockey.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Weekend on Saturday we've got Hull versus Peterborough, Leeds versus Bees, Wildcats versus Tigers, and Milton Keynes versus Romford. I think it's going to be some interesting results. I think Hull definitely have what it takes to beat Peterborough in that group, and Bees are not beating Leeds, and I think they're eliminated from the playoffs now anyway. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of game they put up against Leeds. The Wildcats versus the Tigers. I'm not too sure about that one, Brody. So what are you saying about that?
Wildcats versus the Tigers is a very equal matchup, but I think Swindon Wildcats are going to come out on top due to them being close to beating us. I will say they went for most of last weekend. Can you stop interrupting me, please? But for most of last weekend, they were close, but obviously we came out on top. So yeah, I think Swindon could put up a fight against Telford.
I think it would definitely be nicer for Swindon to beat Telford. I'd rather be having Telford in the playoffs. Can Swindon reach Telford? Yeah, so the Wildcats can definitely take the Tigers. They're only trailing by 1 point. So it'd be interesting to have the Wildcats over the Tigers in the playoffs. I mean, Brody, I think personally I'd prefer the Wildcats over the Tigers, but what are you saying about that?
I'm saying Wildcats any day of the week, due to their hard fought nature, and yeah, I think they deserve a commentary position.
I mean, they're definitely a strong force, the Wildcats, but to be honest, I'm just a hater. I don't want to see Telford get that place in Coventry.
Well, after all the incidents that happened between us and Telford, yeah, I think it's just natural that we want Swindon to go through. So
Yeah. So in the other group is Leeds Knights leading with 7 points, Peterborough trailing behind by 1 point, and Hull Seahawks behind the Phantoms with 2 points. Unfortunately for the Bees, they have lost every single one of their games, so it's not looking good on their part. I really want to see the Leeds Knights in Coventry, which we know we're going to see because they're obviously playing the Bees, and the Bees have not won any playoff games. But the matchup that I think is going to be really interesting is going to be Peterborough versus Seahawks, because Seahawks are a really strong side when they turn up and play some good hockey, and I think they definitely have what it takes to outplay the Phantoms.
yeah, Seahawks also, when it comes to playoff hockey, are a whole new team, and they are when it comes to playing teams like the Phantoms and teams that are closer to them that were close to them in the league, they can really put up a natural fight. And yeah, I hope we can. I've got a prediction that Seahawks are probably going to end up winning that one.
See, my thing is, I didn't have Seahawks pegged as doing really well in this season, and they turned up and they were in the top half of the table. Like, it was really quite impressive. So that is all for today's episode.
Good luck to the Romford Raiders this weekend, and good luck to the rest of the teams that are playing today. And yeah, we hope we can make it to Coventry.
Yeah, thank you all for listening as well. We hope you enjoyed our interview with Zach Sullivan. And if you, as always, if you got any feedback or ideas for episodes or things that you want to see us cover on the podcast, drop us a message on Instagram. We've just made an official Facebook page as well, so make sure to shoot that a like and a follow. And unfortunately, our website's still under construction, but as soon as it's up, we'll let you guys know over on our Instagram, on our Facebook, and on the next episode of Puck Drop.
Yes, we will.
That's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in.